On tonight's Fandom United, we talk about what everybody else is talking about this week. The Snyder Cut. Congratulations. You got it.
I'm Rich.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Othello.
I am Jelly.
And by our fandoms combined, we're Fandom United. Still, as you can tell, still quarantining, still Zoom meeting to give you guys the show. We just want to thank Jelly for joining us from the set of her video shoot that she's doing right now. She still's got the, the fan blowing her hair or whatever for the dance number getting ready to come up. But and poor John is missing tonight, and this would have been his show because he, amongst, I think, out of all of us, wanted this to happen more than anything else. Zack Snyder himself announced. Oh, you want it? Are you trying to point to me? Is that what you're doing?
Point to you there, brother.
Yeah, no.
You can lie about it all you want, but
okay, we'll get into it in a minute. But in case you have been living under a rock and you don't know, Zack Snyder announced, and of course Warner Brothers confirmed that coming early 2021, I believe, or is that right? I think I have to go look at that again. Early 2021 will be the Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's what they're calling it, which is the Snyder Cut that everybody has been, well, not everybody, but all the Snyder Cut fans have been clamoring for since the disaster of the Justice League movie first premiered almost 5 years ago. So, hey, it's been a long campaign. I think it's been
not been that
5
long.
years.
No, it's 2017.
Since all that started.
2017.
Okay, so well, by the time it premieres, so it'll be what, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. So
don't worry about math, buddy.
No, I'm trying to think of what track I want to go with this. Well, let's just congratulations, Snyder Cut fans. You got it. I'm just happy it's gonna happen because I'm sick of hearing about it.
I'm happy about it for different reasons that we're gonna get into in a little bit. But yeah, there's one aspect of it that I'm really looking forward to. But we'll get there. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm always for a director's vision being seen. I always like director cuts of films. I love one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time is Ridley Scott's director's cut, Blade Runner. His vision for that movie, much better film than all the other versions that were released. So there is something to be said for director's cuts of films as the director envisioned a film being done. Now, of course, as we all know, Zack Snyder had to leave the post-production of Justice League to be with his family due to the tragic loss of his daughter due to suicide, and we all know that. And nobody's faulting him for that. I think this all could have been avoided if Warner Brothers wasn't so worried about meeting a release date and said, we'll postpone this. We'll be the good guys. Deal with your family. Come back to us when you're ready to work. Finish the film. Finish your vision, and make it like an homage to your daughter, whatever you want to do. But take a little time off, and we can just push back the release date a little bit.
Okay,
I know it's a lot more involved in that, but I think that would have been the best thing to do.
Roll out the Wayback Machine on this one, though, because I remember us talking about this years ago when this was all going on. Before everything happened with his daughter, there was talks that they were getting ready to let him go anyway. And I remember the conversation coming up where we were like, hey, I don't think this had anything to do with what happened with his daughter. I think this was Warner Brothers' way of saying, hey, you know what? We're going to let you save face and say that this is why you're walking away from this project. But, yeah, you're going to walk away from this project. This is your out. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a bad move, though. To use something that's so real and so tragic and so visceral and raw and say use that as your excuse to walk away is not a good look. It's just not a good look for anybody to try to use that in that,
and who knows?
That context.
I mean, I don't know that we'd ever find out, but I do remember that there was a lot of talk that he was getting ready to be axed over there before everything happened with his daughter. So, I mean, I don't know.
I think it was a lot was riding on the success of the film. And the problem that a lot of Warner Brother movies have is studio execs meddling. And I
Yeah.
think meddling studio execs saw what Zach originally had on film, what he was working on in post production, what they were looking at for effects wise, and they're like, "Oh crap, this is really dark. This is really gritty. This isn't fun superheroes like those guys across. Well, back then I think they were still all in New York, across town. At the Marvel Studios, and they just did this Avengers movie, and we want that kind of lightness. We want that kind of banter,
They
and so
want
they
that
bring
kind
in
of
Joss
money.
Whedon.
They
Yeah,
saw what
they
Avengers
want that kind of
made.
money, right? And they bring in Joss Whedon to try to interject that into a dark and gritty script, and it's just not, it's just not working. It's like if somebody came in during the middle of Silence of the Lambs and start having Hannibal Lecter and Claire start giving pithy one-liners to one another. It's just not that. It's not what the movie's for. That's not what that kind of film. That's not what that filmmaker was intending. So
it kind of reminds me of
those
writing assignments that you'd have in like high school.
And then
like
you had to
writing
pass it to
classes.
somebody else, and they wrote the next paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
movie just kind of felt like that to me because I'm like,
that is, yeah,
it doesn't seem cohesive at all.
That is very true.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. That's a very astute observation. I like that. That's exactly what it feels like. And I mean, the movie has its fans, but so how do those fans feel about this movie that they've defended now getting a Snyder cut, which is the definitive view of this film?
Let's see what they
I'm sure
say
they're
when
happy,
it actually comes
but-
out. Oh,
Okay,
wow,
but
it still sucks. It's still
another
episode
part-
one. Sorry.
Well, another part of this is that Warner Brothers is spending $20 to $30 million to finish it.
Right.
And that could
Recording
include
reshoots and
reshoots. They're
got
gonna,
all the-
so Henry Cavill is already shaved.
Yeah.
His mustache, like he's like, I'm in the gym, I'm freshly shaved, ready to put the suit back on. You know what I mean? Like
still,
that-
But that scene wasn't
that's all
even
happening.
necessary from for the original cut, though. The
They
one
Yeah,
with the mustache. That was
that was a reshoot
I
because Joss Whedon brought him back and he was busy filming Mission Impossible, and Paramount wouldn't let him shave his mustache off, to go do a Warner Brothers film. They're like, no. So that's where you get that crappy CGI to try to wipe away that mustache they did in like a couple hours before the movie was released.
But I read though that they're not letting him do any reshoots. The 20 to 30 is only for post-production CGI. They're not letting him call anybody back to reshoot.
But I thought all the principals were on board for them.
That I would
That's
think
what I heard too.
that somewhere in their contracts, they're probably still contractually obligated to do reshoots if they're called back to do so. But
And well, with remuneration, they're going to get paid.
right,
They're going to get
right.
paid. So, and here's my thing. Well, Rich, go ahead and why are you looking forward to the? You seem like you were looking forward to it. You said you were looking forward to. So why are you looking forward to it?
okay.
I think I know why, because you're a sick individual, so I can guess. But I'm gonna let you go and say it.
You're right. I am a sick individual. But before you and Jelly joined in on this, Aaron and I were talking a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, do you remember?" And I stopped him right about there. I'm like, "Yes, I remember." Then I finished his sentence. So I'm gonna let Aaron take this one because he's excited for the same reason I am.
Okay.
I vaguely remember a conversation when we first started Fandom United, and we were discussing the Snyder Cut, and you said that if the Snyder Cut was ever released, that you would shave off half of your beard.
No. It wasn't the Snyder Cut. I knew you were gonna try to bring that up. It wasn't. It was New Mutants.
Well, either way,
That's the
you're
one
getting
I
your
said.
beard shaved off. Because
No, because I still don't think New Mutants is gonna make it. New Mutants is still not going to be released in theaters. Thank you, COVID-19.
We're gonna have to look through the archives on that, Aaron, because I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
I'll help you with that.
Go for it. I'm
see.
almost positive it was New Mutants.
See,
I'm like 98.5% positive it was New Mutants.
was it during recording that you said that, or was it after? That's the only part I can't remember.
Oh man, if we have
if we have
Hey, if you don't have it on tape, Didn't happen.
No, we all remember it with 3-1.
Yes, but we all remember it differently.
I feel
I
like we
think-
should.
I think
I
we all
feel like
remember
we
the
should make that a
same way.
special for the episode. Like we should do it for you. You
Yeah.
don't shave it yourself.
Yeah.
Let
no.
us do it.
No. Because number one, that was for New Mutants. Okay, well, wait.
See, you're the
Number
only
one,
who
we're getting
thinks
off
that was
topic.
New Mutants,
No-
buddy.
Number two was New Mutants. Number three, never going to get released. Never going to happen. So New Mutants, I don't care how many trailers they put out. New Mutants, I'll be surprised if it sees Hulu, but it will not hit theaters. It won't hit theaters because that's just not Kevin Feige's vision of what
It's not
he
saying
wants
much.
the
A lot of
universe
stuff's
to
not
be.
hitting theaters these days.
True.
It wasn't hitting theaters before then. New Mutants not going to theaters ain't COVID's fault. It's
Yeah,
just
I'm gonna have
not
to do
what.
some research on that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
go
have to
back
look
and
through
look
the
for it.
archives.
Yeah. Well, that's your homework for this week, and then you have that clip ready for next week, and we'll continue that. But yeah, ain't happening because I said New Mutants, not Justice League Snyder cut. Anyway,
All right, anyway, let's
and,
talk about the dumb movie.
and was it this show? Anyway, I'm not beholden to things that we did before Fandom United. I'm not sticking to that.
Oh,
It has to be. It has to be Fandom United.
He's just trying to finagle his way out of it any way he can.
No, I'm serious. I'm almost positive New Mutants, but I hope the movie is good. I hope it will be good. I hope it will be.
I hope so too. I don't want anybody to make a bad movie. You know, I would love for it to be great, but my expectations are really, really low. But I mean, I'm also not a fan of the majority of the stuff that Zack Snyder's put out. I mean, his pacing is just different than what I enjoy. So I mean, and just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. But you know,
His pacing, well, I think his pacing, his style of filming is great for movies like 300. It was
Watchmen
great
was
for
wonderful.
Watchmen, but it just doesn't work on a character like Superman. It might work on Batman, but it's not going to work on I mean, I enjoyed Man of Steel more than you did. And out of all of the WB movies that came out, I was one of the few people that actually felt like I really did enjoy Man of Steel. And you know, along with Aquaman and Wonder Woman, I wouldn't put it necessarily on those same tiers, but I enjoyed Man of Steel. I think really because you get to see a character as strong as Superman cut loose with other characters that they never really show that, right? You know what Superman is capable of. And that's why Superman 2 is one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, because you finally got to see somebody just as strong as Superman and they got to cut loose.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that we got in Man of Steel, and I dug that.
I think that the bar was set too high by Christopher Nolan's Batman. I enjoyed those so much when I heard that they're doing Man of Steel. I knew it wasn't Christopher Nolan.
But a lot of his people were still involved. A lot of his people were still involved.
The look and the feel of the movie, it was darker than what Superman should be.
Yeah,
that would work in Gotham, but not
is a
Metropolis.
beacon of hope.
That we got the dark DC universe. Like, he did a good job with it. It's just when everybody else tried to do it, it didn't work the same. But it is partially Christopher Nolan's fault that the DC universe tried to go dark when they started building their own extended universe.
But no, that was the exec's fault for trying to make the entire universe that way based on Nolan's Batman trilogy, the Night, what they call it, Night trilogy or whatever. The Dark Knight trilogy, that was a Batman vision. A Batman in Gotham is a dark character. Those are always some of the darkest books that DC puts out every month, tone-wise, versus the lighter books like your Flash and your Teen Titans and your Superman. Even though they might deal with some heavy subject matter, it's still a book lighter in tone, lighter in palette even than a Batman book, right? Just Batman by its very nature is a dark character. That doesn't translate to your entire line. And I think my problem always with the movies was that, and I've said this before, is that the DC movies, to me, DC as a company, when I was a kid, like Marvel was always the down and dirty, street level, gritty company. DC was the company of like hope and legacy and teenage sidekicks taking on the mantle of their, older superheroes, like with Wally West taking over for Barry Allen when he died in Crisis and all of that. That was what DC was to me. And those movies didn't bring that hope and that light to the theaters that I thought a DC film should bring. But that's just my own personal bias. I'm not trying to judge it, and say all of it was bad. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I think I could have. But on the topic of the Snyder Cut, I think, and I think Snyder Cut fans have been, and I will say this is one of the most toxic fandoms I have ever witnessed in my life, bar none. Every time WB puts out something, no matter what it's in regards to, you get thousands and thousands and thousands of single replies. Release the Snyder Cut. Some guy, in the social media department thinking he's doing great. Wow, look, I just put out this video, this trailer, and this post is blowing up, and it's all release the Snyder Cut. You know what I mean? You can't even have a good dialogue about something completely unrelated because release the Snyder Cut fans are just kind of ruining the party for everybody else.
That's the way of the
there have
world
been
right
death
now,
threats.
though.
Yeah, but there have been death threats against critics of the film, people who say they
people are
don't like the
stupid.
films or whatever. But you know what I mean? There's death threats and stuff like that, and
Death threats
it's
were
not okay.
what shut down Voltron. We would have got more Netflix Voltron if it would have been for that kind of garbage. There's just, unfortunately, I like the fact that we live in a world where you can put your thoughts out there, and like what we're doing, we're discussing stuff, and we're, I don't agree with everybody on this panel, a lot. I mean, we all have come from different places and have different ways that we, see things and the things that we like. But I love the fact that we live in a world that you can do that, and it just sucks that so many people are hijacking that and making it to where you're right. It's toxic. That's probably the best description for it. But I mean, there's so many things that we end up not seeing because those fans end up just ruining it for the studio, where they're like, okay, you know what? Let's just abandon this and hope the next thing doesn't do this.
But, and I'll say this, whether you feel that fandom was toxic or not, whether you felt WB wronged Zack or not, I'll tell you this right now, if you're a Snyder Cut fan and you're watching this video, don't get hype. It's not because you won. It's because of this. If HBO Max wasn't a thing, neither would the Snyder Cut be. There would be no Snyder Cut if there was no HBO Max to launch. All Warner Brothers is doing is using this to hype up HBO Max. If they cared about you, they would release it to theaters or sell it on Blu-ray or launch it on VOD instead of putting it behind the HBO Max paywall, which is going to be what, $25 a month or something like that, right? Now, here's the thing. They're also talking about, they said because Zack's vision was so long, right, for this movie, 3.5 hours, whatever, they're just going to do the complete unabridged Zack Snyder cut of this film. They might release it as one movie. They might release it as two. I even saw something that said they may release it as a 6-episode miniseries.
Yeah, I read
They're going to get you for at least 6 episodes, one a week. They're going to get you for at least 2 months. That's $50. They're going to get out of each and every person that's only going to sign up to HBO Max just to see the Snyder Cut. If they release it in that way, even if they only get you for 1 month, that's $25. From, let's say and this is a big movement. This release of Snyder Cut fandom is huge. Let's say it's 1 million. Let's say it's 1 million people. If each and every one of them is going to get that subscription to see that movie that first month, that the first few months
they gotta
numbers are going to be huge.
They gotta at least be expecting that, because if they're willing to put 30 million towards it, they are expecting to at least get enough people to make that 30 million back.
Okay, but see, this is the thing with movie studios. They're not gambling. They know good and well that they're going to put this out, and they say, hey, if we can just catch, let's say there's 2 million of them, we can get half of, pay that $25 a month just to see this movie, because we're going to get them, then they're already going to make that money back in 1 month of that movie being out there. They're not going to lose any money on this film. And if anything, it's going to pump up their numbers, and all it's doing is generating buzz for HBO Max. That's all it's doing. That's the only purpose of releasing the Snyder Cut. There's no altruism involved.
They're going to have the same downfall that Disney Plus did with The Mandalorian. Like, everyone hopped on Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, and then once that show ended, they had a steep drop-off. I mean, it's picked back up since then, but it was inflated. Everyone got on there just to see it and then left.
But it's, what are you showing to investors? Like when it launches and when, they have investor earnings and how that goes into quarterly earnings and yearly earnings and all of that. for your stockholders is what this all plays into. This is all about lining the pockets of the WB executives that crapped on your movies in the first place. This is nothing, zero to do with, hey, let's give Zack a chance to do the movie the right way. And guess what? Even if it's good, even if you love it, it doesn't matter. That vision, the Justice League and the DC universe is done.
Exactly.
We might get Cavill back as Superman. Maybe. They still have Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Ezra Miller's very likely out as the Flash if he hasn't been fired behind the scenes already. Amber Heard is gone from Aquaman, but whatever. Bye. Can't do my man Johnny Depp like that. That's just dirty. You can't do Captain Jack like that. That ain't right. Anyway, so you have these people that have moved on. Ben Affleck is gone as Batman, as the buff Batman, and now we have Sparkle Pattinson as the skinny Batman. So I mean, that's not going to match. You know what I mean? You're not going to get these actors back. Ben Affleck is gone, stuff like that. So you're not going to get a Justice League 2 kind of thing. You're not going to get a continue with some of these other stories because these characters, some of these people have moved on or have, like in the case of Ezra Miller, probably excused themselves from being in further participation of the films by choking a fan in a nightclub. So,
well, if they can't
it's not going to be
if they can't get rid of the villain that they picked for Justice League, it's not going to make any difference anyways.
Now, from what I understand, in Zack's original script, Steppenwolf was not the big bad villain. Darkseid was. So
that would make it. That would just in itself make it a better movie. Just
and hey, if they go say, hey, let's go throw some money at these Marvel guys that made Thanos such a believable CGI character that you kind of forget that he's CGI standing there, and let's get him to do Darkseid, bruh. I would love to see Darkseid throwing down. I really would. But you got to get all these people back. So you're going to have to get Affleck back to do some Batman scenes because that's going to be a whole fight scene that needs to be filmed again. Mm-hmm. Unless they just CGI Steppenwolf out and put Darkseid in or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play. But, $20 to $30 million just for reshoots and CGI. CGI don't cost $20 million. I'll tell you that right now. It just doesn't. It doesn't cost that much now. For these big production companies to do these films.
I guess Cavill, no. I was thinking, could you deep fake it? But that'd be bad too. Like have just do the fight scenes with stunt double.
They gotta deep fake that mustache better than what they did.
No, because I think Cavill's coming back. I think if they need to get these people on board, they're coming back. Number one, because they're going to get paid for reshoots. And then here's the other thing: you have all these stars that are like, "Oh, release a Snyder cut." Well, there's a couple of things there. There was one that the release Snyder Cut fandom did a campaign to raise money for suicide prevention. So you had a lot of stars like Gal Gadot retweeting release the Snyder Cut. You had people that weren't even involved in the film like Damon Lindelof retweeting release the Snyder Cut. And these people were doing that to just kind of like, hey, yeah, we're supporting this on behalf of Zack and giving this money to prevention of suicide. Then there's other people like Momoa who's like, yeah, I saw it. It was great. We should, that's the movie you should have saw. I'm not saying he's a dishonest dude. This is not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying all these cats are going to get paid. They're going to get paid for doing the same movie twice because they're going to get paid again. They're going to get paid on the back end. They're all in the union. They all get residuals. So anytime you're watching that movie, they're going to get a check, whether you watch the original version or when you watch the Zack Snyder cut. They're going to get a cut and they're going to get paid. They're not doing it. Yeah, they might be doing this reshoots and stuff out of love for Zack, but come on, man. Come on, man. We all love money. We all live in America. Most of us. We know. That I just don't see any good behind the corporate, a corporation trying to give you something like this. I just don't see any good in it. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Agreed.
Aaron's excited about it. Aaron, okay, so you saw Justice League.
Yeah. I think I saw it.
Are you excited about Snyder Cut? Like when you saw the news and the $20 to $30 million, what did you think about it?
I think it's going to be a very dark emo movie that, it's not my flavor. It would improve if you got rid of Steppenwolf and brought Darkseid in, and that alone could improve the movie. But yeah, his flavor's never been something that I enjoyed, and I
No,
just don't want that emo, dark, brooding.
that's exactly what it's gonna be.
That's what it's gonna be.
That's exactly what it's gonna be.
So
Um,
I'm gonna watch it just out of sheer curiosity. I want to see it, but other
He
than
wish they could put Tobey Maguire in there. He does dark, broody emo very well.
So I'm not
this
hyped
dude.
for the movie, but I am gonna watch it out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to the show, there's a lot of things that I watch and look at now that I, wouldn't normally, or give another shot, give another chance. So I know that's something I'm going to watch. I mean, it's not that I hate, and people think, well, you hate DC characters, you're just a Marvel fanboy. I'm like, no, that's not the case. I love the DC characters. I just don't think that they were treated fairly in films. I honestly don't. They've been treated wonderfully in animation, but they've been treated terribly in their live action films. So I don't know. I'm going to see it. Maybe I'll have to come to your house because I don't see myself paying $25 a month for HBO Max. I just don't. I don't know. What about you, Rich? We got a few minutes left. What about you?
I would watch it. I mean, I didn't hate the one that came out so much that I would never watch it again. But it's not something that's in my film rotation of movies that I watch over and over again. And I mean, and I do like Josh Whedon. I'm a huge fan of him. In fact, been watching Dr. Horrible for the last 2 weeks with my 12-year-old because he just fell in love with it when I showed him. So yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of him, but it felt like that it was listening to a schizophrenic person, telling a story because it just had such a different feel. I've got a pretty good feeling that I know what scenes Zach did versus what Josh did, and I don't know if it was just that they're like, hey, don't worry about it, just rush it out, or if it was, hey, yeah, good enough, we're done, and he just mailed it in. I really don't know what it is, but again, I hope that it is a good movie that when they release it, and that the fans get something that will be satisfying to them. But all indications that I'm seeing right now, that's not what it's going to be. They're going to see it.
I hope for their sake it will be good. I hope they don't,
because they're gonna look
I hope nobody
dumb.
spends $20 million on a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? Even at that though, if they're
know.
still doing work on it, it's not the cut that people were seeing in test audiences. So, if they were reading people in test audiences like, no, this is not a good movie. We got to make some changes. Got to make some changes quick, and shuffled things around. Got rid of him. Brought Joss in. This movie's still not going to be that cut of that movie. So that still will not see the light of day.
So then, okay, now, Jelly, did you see Batman versus Superman? I know you didn't see Justice League, but did you see BVS?
I don't know if I've seen it, and bear with me because I've been pregnant for a couple of years. I think I've seen parts of it. I may have not seen it in its entirety.
And now she's in Morocco for a photo shoot. So she's, that's what in case you're wondering why she hasn't said much, because, somebody's taking pictures of her this entire time. That's why she has the hair blowing. That's what she's doing.
She don't think you're ready for this jelly.
Yeah, they're not ready for this jelly. No. You're not.
Anyway, I've seen it in parts. I don't think I've seen it in its entirety. But I guess you guys were talking about how dark.
We've all seen it in parts.
I don't think I've seen it in its entirety, but there's that part of me, I don't know, because I grew up with the old Wonder Woman and the old school Batman, and Chris Reeves as Superman. So that's kind of what I have in my head for DC, and no offense to the new stuff, because I think they're amazing, but you guys are correct when you say the dark brooding characters and whatever like that, because I remember them kind of being a little more humorous and light-sided and kind of campy, but
Oh, and then she completely froze. That
well,
it's
you
the
finish that
internet
thought
connection from Morocco. Yeah, it's that internet connection from Morocco. And she's going to hate the face that she froze on, too. You know what?
It's so bad.
And just to make sure she
We need to
can't
make
fix it.
t-shirts of this shot right here.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? And on that note, that's going to be our show for this week. So remember, tell them F you.